Let's see if this works. The whole live stream to YouTube. It's doing something. All right. That's not.
I think it's working.
I think it's working. Like the whole, I've decided that YouTube is all about just trust that it's going to work. All right. So with that, we got things going. And I think we're ready to kick it off. We're going to go in order, right? So that means Team 28 is up first. And if I recall correctly, Team 28, this is a 4-player.
Yes,
Still a
that's
4-player,
correct.
right?
Yes.
Yep.
Right. So Ruth and I are two of the players. Who else has decided to join us?
I can join.
Yeah, I can pull the
Does Ruth have the build? Because I know that like for interim we had to put it on Google Drive.
If it was in the zip, I have the build.
I took all the things in Perforce and I zipped some stuff up and I put it on a Google Drive for Ruth.
Perfect. Thank you.
It should be good.
Dave, if you screen share, do you mind not sharing sound until you see your role? Because there's some secret, like as you know, there's some like secret. So yeah, if you turn out to be the imposter, we'll need you to not share sound throughout the tutorial, and then yeah.
All right, sounds good.
But if it says you're a good player, you can turn the sound back on.
All right. So with that, and we can all just start running the game. Like, is it dependent on like one person running first like that, or are we just good?
No, yeah, you can do whatever order.
All right, I'm going to. How do I want to do this? I need to I'm gonna run, and I'm gonna see what I'm at, and then depending on stuff, I'll make decisions. All right.
Oh, you won't see until everyone is in, unfortunately.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think.
Hey guys, in the zip folder there is no build.
Oh, hold on a second.
So yeah, the zip is just the project zip, but the build is a open folder.
Ruth, I'm gonna get you right here. Give me a sec.
The one called final build.
I got it coming. I'm doing some stuff. 1 second. All right, Ruth, there should be another zip file up there.
In Team 28?
Yeah.
All right, let me just download that.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and run, and when I'll make some decisions about screen sharing. It's going to be kind of a tell as well that if I share audio.
I mean, alternatively, we can have whoever's playing not listen to the Zoom at the start, but I'm not sure if that's feasible.
Yeah, I could probably turn off like the sound of the computer that my Zoom is on right now.
Yeah, the question is, if I mute my computer, does that mute? Let me share.
The audience over Zoom won't hear the opening video, but the YouTube stream will show it. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll roll with it and we'll see what we get. If other people can pretend to not know what's going on, if they need to.
Sure.
All right. Let me go ahead and share this. I can just share with no audio, if that's okay with everyone. Is that would that be your preference, team?
Maybe. I mean, like, so then the people would miss like the audio for the introductory video and stuff.
I mean, you could just pull up the YouTube stream, right?
The other option is everyone else who's playing could mute Zoom in theory through the Windows like mixer panel, but then they wouldn't hear any audio like talking to each other.
No, that's an issue. We should probably just run with it with sound.
Okay.
It'll probably be fine.
All right, here we go.
Yeah, we have like a 75% chance that everything will be fine. So.
All right.
So you can click start and it'll wait for everyone. So.
Mom, did you get the popcorn? You promised we could watch a movie tonight.
I know. Hey, can I see a report card?
Oh. Here it is.
A C? Billy! I knew you weren't getting enough sleep. This ends tonight. Bedtime is now.
But you're leaving tomorrow. We have to watch the movie tonight.
Billy, no, just go to bed. You need a good night's rest to do better in class.
I wish I could fix this. I wish I could fix my grade. Or I wish my mom wouldn't be mad at me anymore. Either way, I wish I could be better.
Hey! You're the imposter, so I'm giving you an extra tip while the others aren't listening. You can click on the orb in front of you to pick it up. Then you can right-click to turn it into a bad orb. I want you to pick the orb up, right-click to turn it bad, then left-click again to put it down.
Alright, rookies. Welcome to the Dreamco Dream Fulfillment Center. Tonight we're making dreams for, Billy. Pay attention, you'll be making dreams in no time. You should see some colored dream orbs in front of you. You can click on them to move them around. I want you to work together and get all 3 orbs right next to each other.
Click to pick up an orb and click again to drop it somewhere else.
Come on! Talk to each other and get those orbs together.
Click to pick up an orb and click again to drop it somewhere else.
Great! Maybe we'll meet our quota after all. Now, we need to build a dream out of these orbs. Press space to take out your hammers. Come on! I want to see 4 hammers out. Nice! Now, someone click on those orbs and turn them into a dream. We don't have all night here. Hurry up and click on those orbs.
Okay, it looks like that was a good dream. Here at Dreamco, we have a motto: no bad dreams, or you're fired. A few of the materials are secretly bad materials, and those ones turn into nightmares. They're indistinguishable from the good materials, though. Also, management says there's an imposter around here who can choose to turn materials bad while holding them. Don't trust anyone. Alright, now take these new orbs and make another dream.
Hurry up and build that dream. We need to stay on schedule here. Hey! You there! I know you can see the bad orbs. That dream we made just now was a nightmare. Management is always telling me to follow the motto: no bad dreams. However, I think that if Billy wakes up tonight, he'll be able to say bye to his mom before she leaves on her business trip. I need you to sneak in as many nightmares as you can, but don't get caught. Keep it on the DL or we'll all get fired. So anyways, if you think someone is suspicious, you can take your hammer and whack him. Go ahead and try it now. Take your hammer out and click on one of your neighbors to stun him. You might be wondering, how can I tell a good orb from a bad one? Well, never fear. Management has a solution for everything. Press space to put your hammers away, and we'll practice breaking orbs to see what's inside. Very good. Now, right-click on the orb in front of you to destroy it. Don't be shy, just break them.
Good. If you see purple, the orb was bad. Now you can tell which orbs are good. Of course, if you destroy the good orbs, you can't use them. You're just gonna have to sniff out that imposter to stop the nightmares. Now hurry up and make some dreams.
All right, let's do this. Little. Oh man, yeah. Cooldown that's showing up down here.
He blew my way.
Whoa.
Oh,
Yes.
Oh,
Alright.
breaking.
Blue, red, blue. There, hammer.
So the it looks when orbs get destroyed, they just disappear. Basically, I hear a breaking sound and they go away.
Yeah, and everyone gets to see what it was.
Yeah, no, it was a little that the whole breaking of orbs is like a little different from it. They were trying to go like where did the dreams go? And it's hard. Definitely.
Breaking orbs doesn't make a dream.
Yeah. It was like. Trying to like follow what's going on.
All right, that's all the good dreams we need. Good work, everyone.
I'm doing so much better in math today. Mom's gonna be so proud of me.
The screen share is frozen. Oh, maybe
I
it's
think
just
Dave himself is wrong.
They got a few error messages at the end there.
well,
All right.
that's the end. So you saw the credits and so on.
Yeah. Awesome. Let me.
Do you want to see the alternate ending?
Yeah,
from
there's
the video?
another ending. So if we could show the video,
Sure.
we'll show you what happens if you get 8 bad dreams instead of 8 good dreams.
Yeah, start from like 6-ish minutes into the video.
Let's go ahead and let me just kill this. Share screen. Where are we going here? About.
Mom, I'm scared.
Could you go a little back?
Sure.
Yeah, I could go maybe like a second.
Brace
before.
yourselves.
Mom, I'm scared.
Shh. Billy, it's okay.
I had a nightmare.
Hey, don't worry. I'm right here. And I'm sorry for our fight earlier.
I'm sorry too.
Come here, kiddo. It's hug time.
Yay. All right. No, great work, team. Obviously, a little bit of a handicapped imposter on my part. I think the information got out. For better or for worse. But man, like just especially watching the intro and hearing it, you guys did a lot of work to set up the story and get it so there's there's a little more gray now. Like it's a little less, oh, nightmares are bad. There's an imposter trying to ruin things, and the motivation of the imposter is not just we're trying to like ruin little Billy's life. And I think I really appreciate seeing the imposter view through this, because as the imposter, I got that extra piece of information, which was, hey, if he has a nightmare, he'll wake up and he'll get to say goodbye to his mom. Is that correct? Like no one else. Did anyone else?
Everyone else hears a line about like stop the imposter, basically. They hear the company line.
So so there's this extra piece of information to the imposter, which is nightmares can be used for good in some sense. And sort of the idea, I appreciated that as sort of a tie-in to the story, because I think one of your big challenges has been, you've got this story that happens between Billy and his mom, and the story that happened in the Dream Makers. And in some sense, the challenge is getting the guest to understand how dreams can be used to solve problems. And that line especially helps illustrate sort of the complexities of Billy's problems, that he needs a good night's sleep to get good grades. But there's this other issue, which is his mom is leaving on a business trip. And the idea that good dreams can lead to good grades. And that's one of his problems. But bad dreams can lead to him waking up and possibly, going to his mom and sort of resolving a little bit of the fight. And so you guys successfully, I think, put in something which was more of a nuanced like choice here in terms of stories. Like, what is the story we play through? One is good night's sleep, one is bad night's sleep, but they both successfully, I think, tie into the story of what's going on. The world, man, like there's definitely, like, you guys had a complicated, instruction screen, and you converted all of that to sort of an interactive tutorial. I think that was really necessary to sort of get a sense of what's going on. It's still a lot. Like, there's a lot to get through, and you sort of feel it. I love like the little touches you have. Like, everyone, I want to see those hammers. You guys, I think, made the tutorials fairly. It felt like it flowed, and it felt interactive. Part of it was just there's a lot of mechanics going on, and that I think that's where your world's a little bit in tension. There's like this story of Billy and the mom I'm starting to feel, and then we get into this like heavy sort of exposition of tutorial, and it still feels a little disconnected in terms of like, what exactly am I going through? But the fact that it was interactive, the fact that you sort of like used there's like a character walking through that, brought it to life in a way that made it make more sense. And so I appreciate that as well. Like the fact that this isn't just a game screen that comes up and says, hey, okay, we're gonna do this thing now. You're sort of walking through it. And like I said, the fact that you tied the solution and the fact that we are now very much referencing Billy and what his problems are with what we're doing, I think worked well with that. It would have been nice to see, I think Billy is still a little lost. Like, he's sort of this little character in the middle of the table. And we're very much these four mysterious figures doing this sort of abstract dream making. And so there's still like just a kind of a big leap between what is happening with Billy and what we're doing. But I think those choices you've made to sort of connect the story and sort of tell those parts in the flow of what we're doing and connecting what the actions we're doing to making things happen did a lot to really sort of connect that story there. So really good work. Ruth?
So I really liked how you guys cleaned up the story so that we don't hear that anymore. We're focused on the boy. So I really like that. The other thing that I really liked was I like the introduction. I like what you did with the introduction so that we get the instructions as we go. The playing table, I wonder if you pulled the camera out just a little bit more, how would that... Yeah, there is a bit of a reverb. Sorry. I got two machines, and the second machine is just like, I don't want to play nice today. Let's do this. Will that work? Nope, I'll work on that. Okay. I was so focused on making good dreams. Once the game started playing, I was no longer seeing what the bad dream orbs looked like. So I didn't know when they were popping up to pound on them. And if you pulled the camera back just a little bit more, I wonder if it would be easier to pound on the other players to try to stop the imposter. I also wonder if once you got 3 colored dreams together, if there was like a little bit of a glow or a halo around them to tell you, hey, you've got 3 together. Sometimes when they were next to each other, you couldn't see their colors because they were complementing each other and turning to white. So I wonder if that would be a little bit clearer. It was fun though. It was fun. I enjoyed myself. Every time I tried to make a group on one side, Dave would steal my orbs.
Yeah, I noticed that you were kind of, I think it was you on the side of the table breaking kind of everything that Dave was putting in your area. You're like, no, I know that you're bad. I'm going to break everything.
Yeah, one of the things that I felt, I think Ruth, you're sort of touching on this, is there's a lot going on. There's sort of like, I'm managing the idea that I can hammer, generally hammer dreams. I can hammer my opponents. I, the imposter, can infect the dream components, and then I can move them around. And I'm sort of like also trying to track like who's doing what, how many dreams do we have, like, or do we have like enough nightmares, enough dreams themselves? So it was sort of overwhelming for me, and I think part of this is just like some of the realities of scope and what you can make. The cooldowns, like I'm watching cooldowns. I'm trying to figure out why those orbs disappeared, and so there's little touches of feedback that we're sort of missing. That I was basically having to use my brain to keep track of a lot of different things that the world didn't give me quite enough feedback on to remind me of like what this meant. So that idea of like letting me see state a little more simply would have been helpful. And I feel like that's a little bit indicative of like the way it played out. It was a very quiet experience. There wasn't a whole lot of talking going on. And I think the experience kind of tunnels you down into managing your own stuff. And you're sort of you don't really have the space to say, oh, okay, everything's under control and I need this. I could see this world after few playthroughs where you get to that, where you get to sort of know the flow of it and the patterns. But I think especially as a first time playing through, it's a little overwhelming. I think that's just looking at, if I had to like iterate this for a naive guess, I would take out at least one of the pieces of this. Like I would take out the hammer, something like that. I would take out something which is, you manage one fewer thing so you can get a little more social, and sort of simplify down. And that's mostly, like I said, just as a guest playing through it, I felt like I had to think about too much stuff to get to the place where I think the world wanted me to get to, which is talking and being social through this.
Yeah, it's weird when you know your game and you know your design, you always are afraid of being too simple. And you want to up the ante. But once you get a naive guest in there, in an experience where you're only going to play it once, you want to really simplify it.
But I think at the end of this, you guys made some really good choices about how to tie the story and the experience together. You picked a hard thing to do, which is connect sort of these two spaces, which is dream makers and Billion's mom on Earth, and you got it, I think, almost all the way there. There's a few little things which are still a little gamey, colliding with story, but all those pieces, like especially that tutorial and the ending and like connecting the motivation are working pretty well. So great job, and getting 4-player sort of co-op with imposter gameplay working in 2 weeks. Awesome work. So great job, team.
Thank you. I do have one question if we have like time.
Sure.
So like on Sunday, we decided to make a fairly major change in how the bad orbs work. Originally it was like all just randomly they would spawn on the table. And so did you feel that the ability to change bad orbs was better than that?
I like the idea of choice and some control there. It was a cooldown timer. Like one of the things that I ended up struggling with was I had 2 cooldown timers to watch, Hammer and the Infect orbs, and every time I ran into that, it stopped me. Like I was like, oh wait, can I do that yet? And it was a silent failure. And I think the idea of sort of limited, like a rate limited ability to infect orbs is the right direction. For me in play, I needed a more intuitive way to use that, rather than sort of like a number that's spinning in the corner that's not quite connected to what's happening. So I think there'd be iteration to make that smoother. But as I was playing, the idea of bringing infected ones into play, I think is exactly where I want to be in terms of the imposter. Do I pick one up and infect it, or do I like pull like an infected one from a supply? I think there's a little bit of like space to play with that, but I think on the balance that agency is the right choice. Cool. All right. Great work, team. I think it's time to move on to Team 29. So Team 29 wants to like turn on video, and we'll get this going. This one is, I believe, Oculus. No, Revive
would probably be preferable.
Ruth, you got a Vive working over there?
I have an Index.
An Index also should be preferable, I think, although we haven't tested on it.
Okay, 29.
This is I think the naming in the folder was a little bit exciting. I'm assuming this is the chichi.exe.zip.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, that's the one I uploaded.
We try for exciting naming every time.
Always seeing .exe in a zip file name is always exciting to me. And I'm gonna make you co-host, Ruth, so you can share screen.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that it would play. Let me now close it and share.
All right.
Also, Ruth, I'm not sure if you have like a semi-mobile chair or anything, but the like it's like a desk and it's sort of a seated experience. So it may be uncomfortable if you're like leaning down on the desk. So if you do have a chair, that would probably be more sustainable. That's how we've always been testing it. Perfect. And also more immersive.
You having giving me troubles.
Every contract you have. Why not just wake up?
Okay, can you see the share?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
It started a little bit like, I think you may want to restart it just that you missed the introduction. I'm sure you could figure it out probably regardless, but.
You know what they say about tech? When you need it the most. Close window.
Vanished.
Come on.
You may need to extract it first. I'm not sure if.
You just ran.
Ah.
Okay, difficulties.
Is it possible that maybe it won't even let you open it unless you rescan it?
Yeah, for some reason it was working fine, and then I restarted it, and now it won't even let me open it.
And then it realized it was a virus that we tried to put on your computer. Oh, I think it just ran.
But why are you even dreaming about working when you are asleep? Shouldn't you try to dream about nature? Flowers, trees, gardens, the ocean? Why dream about work? Why dream about rejecting the dreams of others? Why dream about stamping the paper with your stamp and rejecting every contract you have? Why not just wake up?
Yay. That's a big window to the outside. Oh, there's a phone ringing. Here's the phone.
Hey, so I just finished with the dog trainer. I'm getting in my car right now to head over to you. I should be there in like 5 minutes. I'm telling you, this dog is the cutest thing I've ever seen. The trainer said her name is Chi-Chi. Yeah, I don't know what that means, but she's so responsive. Chi-Chi, Chi-Chi. I think she'll really help you out. I wish you could have picked her up with me. Chi-Chi, are you gonna help my workaholic friend have a life? Huh? Are you? She says yes. See you soon.
Couldn't even get an word in edgewise there. Oh, here comes the dog. Just the dog. You're gonna make my life better? Can I pet you? You talking again? Yeah, bring me the phone. Bring me the phone. You do that better than my dog does. Thank you. Here, I'll pay you. Uh-oh. Okay, grab the phone. There we go.
Alright there, new employee. Have you, just checked some of these proposals here. Let's just see what this first one is here. Alright, first we have it looks here like a grandmother who wants to visit her kids. They're having a baby, grandson for the first time. It's credit score, nope, reject. This person wants to, looks like, buy their dream house. What's their credit report like? Not good enough. Reject. Yeah, just stamp reject on that. Yeah. Alright, this one looks like someone wants to study at a graduate university. Change their life. No. They're not gonna make money at this ETC. Nah. Reject. Alright, next we have here what's this? This person wants to finance a car so they can drive. Meet their girlfriend. Run away. Sounds like a bad return on investment. Reject. Good news, the higher-ups heard about how efficient you are at work and they're offering. Yo, what is up? Sorry for any background noise. I'm actually at the grocery store right now. I called to ask if you like spicy dip, but since you did not pick up, I will get a variety.
I don't like spicy dip.
I cannot believe we're
Don't like it.
together for stupid 80s movie night.
Okay, now what? I don't like it.
Transformation. You used to be a robot, and now you are my human friend. I'm gonna bring some dog treats too. You know that like green kind for Chi-Chi? She deserves it, you know? I give her all the credit for giving us back our 80s movie extravaganza. And for giving us back you. I'm gonna see if they sell dog ice cream here.
You talk too much.
I forget why I called. See you tonight.
So, like the changes you did to the environment. The fact that we're looking at the door where the dog comes in, and the dog's to my side. I really like that. On the tech side, the phone was just really loud. But I didn't get the sense of urgency of, I got to keep doing this or I'm going to be fired. I felt it was very easy for me to just keep rejecting while I was paying attention to the dog. So I didn't get a sense of feel of that distraction back and forth or the urgency of the employer.
Ruth, what I was watching it, the stamping was really clear to me. Was the interaction with the dog, was there choice? Was there like something, was there a reaction there? Like, was the world reacting to that? I'm curious, team too, like what is sort of like the stuff in this world that's the guests can do?
Yeah, I don't know if I threw the phone. I picked it up, and I don't know if I accidentally did a throw gesture.
You didn't. It was programmed to do that.
Okay. That was alarming because I thought, oops, I did something wrong. And then I thought, oh, this just broke the world because now I got to get up and somehow get over there to pick the phone up. And then the dog went and got it for me. And I was very thankful to the dog. Yeah, I was like, thank you so much for bringing me that phone back. And that actually I felt was really a strong moment because then it gave me that idea of, oh, by the way, you can throw things and the dog will get it for you. But beyond that, I didn't feel like I had a decision or a choice of what I could throw. So when she said that she was going to bring over the dog biscuits, I was like, oh, okay, good. She'll bring dog biscuits and then I'll be able to throw them and play more with the dog. You've got a short amount of time and we don't have haptic yet. So how do you feel that you're really petting the dog? I think I would have liked to have seen just a little bit more reaction to me, my hand poking into his head. That would have been nice. But I guess the biggest thing was I felt like I wasn't being torn between I need to pay attention to the guy on the phone. And I think if he was more responsive to my actions, if you were looking at the gaze of the person to know, like, if I'm looking at the dog, then I'm not paying attention. And then to have that guy go, hey, let's get back to the work here. It felt very much like I was just told to just hit reject. And then I could get to that point where I was just rejecting everything and not even listening to him anymore because I wanted to play with the dog. Once you create that connection, that play connection, then people just want to continue in that area. And everyone loves playing with a dog. So the more you can get feedback between my touching the dog, my petting the dog, give me more things to throw that are obvious dog toys. I think that will make that connection really strong. But I think that boss needs to be much meaner. It needs to be someone that you just absolutely hate. And then I think I got a promotion, right?
Yes.
Was I really doing a good job?
You were doing exactly as told.
I was doing exactly as told. Okay. I was expecting at some point to hear the word "you're fired" or something, or "you're going to be fired." Now, granted, I'm biased because I saw it at interim. So that's always an issue, is that we're not naive guests at this point. But I think if he could have been meaner and he could have known, how scary is that? You're talking to someone on the phone and they know where you're looking. I mean, that's just terrifying. I think that would have added a really cool feel to the whole piece.
Yeah.
The Ruth, the ending. How would you describe how this world ended?
Did it end? It was just suddenly gone. I thought, did I break it? You know, she said she was coming by with the biscuits. Where are the biscuits? She's all talk, no substance.
Yeah.
So I did not know it ended.
So watching this, one of the things that the beginning, and I think the way you set this up was really compelling. I think you leaned into the idea of sort of the dream space. And what I really like about this is you guys set up the idea between sort of like work and life and like work and play really well. I mean, actually the storytelling and the world building and getting this world to like establish what it's about was really, really well done. Like we've got this the idea of like, you know, why dream about work? Why don't you dream about nature? Like you've sort of like are within the use of like the girlfriend and like the voiceover setting up like how I should be thinking about stuff. I think that worked really, really well. And I think I really like the sound design. Like Ruth, I know you said that the phone was really loud, but like you guys have like this metronome ticking going on. That's sort of like creating watching it, it felt like it was just sort of like almost infecting the space. Now, I guess Ruth, like, I'm curious, as you were in it, how did the idea of it being, I mean, so the beginning says this is a dream, right? In some sense, is that about where we are? But you're playing through it, Ruth, and a lot of the stuff you're talking about, and I think this makes a lot of sense for someone going through it, is this is a world that this world is real in some sense, within whatever reality we want to map to virtual reality, but like it has an immediacy and has a like, I need to stamp things, I need to like work with a dog, not like I'm worried about an existential crisis that my dream is a reflection of. So I guess for Ruth, how did the dream aspect of this feel?
There was no dream. It felt real. So I know the intro, it said that there was something about a dream world, but the play of the world itself did not feel like a dream. It felt like this was a real life.
I guess you missed the intro part.
Yeah. And the one thing I was thinking about while playing it was when I got tired of this person who was just talking and talking and talking and talking and talking and talking, and I put the phone down to hang up on them, it didn't hang up. It kept going. And I wasn't sure whether that was a mistake or if that was the dream world, that I couldn't stop or I couldn't control this voice that was constantly talking and not shutting up. And unfortunately in the world, like in the VR world and anything computer generated, the moment something doesn't work, you first think that it's a bug. You first think that it's broken or it's deficient. You don't, you have to go really far beyond that to go, oh, okay, I think they meant that. So the only thing that I thought of during the play that might have been a dream was the fact that when I hung up the phone, I could still hear the person talking. That didn't seem like the right disconnect. And is that true? Is that part of the dream, or is that just once you started playing an audio file, you never paid attention to whether the phone was on the ringer or not?
So we didn't expect the player is going to hang up the phone from the boss. And I think you missed the intro part. Intro part was the different scene in the black screen. But yeah, I think you missed the intro scene. Yeah, so you started to play in the real world. Yeah, after the intro scene.
So I guess, team, talk me through the story of this a little bit more clearly, because I think one of the things that's hard, like you guys have a lot of world building, and you guys have a lot of sort of like, you know, things that the guest is going through. I think the challenge is like it's hard for me to see like the exact line of the story. So the beginning talks about, you know, dreaming. Is that what this is? Like what talk me through this a little bit.
Yeah, so it's basically you start off in this sort of like dark space.
Yeah.
And it's tough because it launches right into it. But it basically starts off with kind of like the most important line, which is just emphasizing that like you're dreaming, you're like here you are asleep and you're still dreaming about doing the same work that you do like during the day. Why don't you dream about something nicer, like, you know, nature or life? I mean, if you're just gonna dream about work, you could just wake up and then you're like triggered into the real world, and like where you were sitting, like presumably asleep at your desk, everything is black and it's just the papers and the stamp. It like kind of just transforms into a gray scene where those are in the exact same location, but your whole room is there. So now you've woken up. That's now the real stamp and the real paper. So it's no longer supposed to be a dream, at least not how we were conceptualizing it. And then your job basically is to just reject these proposals. And you're just kind of losing yourself in this, like the monotony of the work, rejecting. And we were, to be fair, we were trying to add a little bit of like a time space between when you could reject things. And Ruth, like to your point, which I think is like totally fair and a good point. We probably should have had feedback, and that would have been locked into that. Or like if you rejected things too early, he would yell at you. Or if you didn't reject it fast enough, he would yell at you. That was all kind of like contained in that like cooldown on the thing. But we didn't have time to add that in. But I think that probably would have helped clarify that point. But most importantly, you're kind of in the habit of rejecting things. When you do it well, and you do a lot of rejections versus looking at Chi-Chi, the world actually gets darker and desaturates in color. But if you look at Chi-Chi or play with Chi-Chi, not only does the world like enhance in color, the ticking of the clock like starts having like musical lines added to it. You start hearing more music and the radio starts playing, and it kind of like builds more and more color and life into the world. And then if you go back to the work, it kind of desaturates and removes those things again. And at the end, the issue on the cooldown timer was to prevent you from like stamping that final promotion too, where there's sort of like a little bit of a lead up to that. And we probably should have given a bigger like birth of time, because the last thing that the boss says is, okay, like you're getting this promotion, you're gonna give up Chi-Chi, it's fine. Like we're gonna fly you out to Japan, it's a traveling job. We'll send someone to go collect Chi-Chi, and we'll just put him in a shelter. Don't worry about it. And just sign on the dotted line on the promotion slip and mail it in. And all you have is the reject stamp, and all you've been doing is rejecting stuff. So like the natural temptation is also like they're taking Chi-Chi, and we hope that the player would just reject that. And then the boss freaks out. And when you hang up that phone call, it does actually hang up. And then the friend calls back and is coming over. The world is a lot more lively. And presumably you're stuck in this world with like, like more life and like in your position, but you know, with a certain balance to it too. And then that was it.
All right. I can see all that stuff in what you're doing. And like, in some sense, like your world is in this really interesting space where you have all of these, there's sort of like storytelling through world building. Actually, the shift in the environment, like watching it externally, like there are moments where I caught it. And I was like, I like my brain sort of clicked. It's like, oh, I love that you're sort of using that color to drive that. And then like you're using a lot of voiceover through the phone and like it builds character. I think one of the challenges, it's a lot. And like the reality in VR is you need the attention of the guest and how they can focus on things and know what's going on. Like you're processing a lot of extra stuff, just like understanding the world. And if the world moves past you, then you can sort of miss stuff. And like the idea of like rejecting the job because the job is, you know, taking the dog away is like a really ambitious idea. And it hinges on like catching that dialogue and sort of like being in that moment. But so I think the world, basically I love the ambition of like where you're going for. I think a lot of it is there. It's now getting the guest to go through it and hit those moments. And I think the thing that this world is sort of missing is moments, like the really clear moment of I just did this. Because watching Ruth, you go through it, the moment you look like you were defining your own moments. And it was like, okay, I'm going to do this now. Oh, I'm going to like reject this now. I'm like looking at the dog now. And I think it's interesting to sort of watch the sort of a guest defining their own moments within the space versus the world saying, hey, these are your moments. And like getting those in sync is like sort of like the magic trick of this. And I think the clarity you'd need for those moments would be to pull things back a little bit and be like, okay, now we're leading up to this moment. And here, like the world sort of like goes away a little bit. It's like, here's the moment. You're in this moment, understand it, think about it, and then execute on it. And that pattern of like getting the guest's attention and getting them ready for a moment is like, that's a lot. And you have all these really lovely ingredients, like the sounds and the way those, you know, change. And if I know it, if I'm sort of listening for it, I can use that. But getting the guests in that space where they use that is sort of the next piece of it.
Yeah, makes total sense.
Anytime your story has boring in it, it's difficult because you need time. You know, nothing is boring in 10 seconds. In theory, to really get the feel for the story, you should be doing this for an hour, but you can't. You know, so you have to understand that anytime your story is around something that's boring, you're going to have a hard time. And dogs are never boring. They're either a whole lot of fun or a pain in the neck. So I would love, like, if this was all created off of a finite state machine, I would love to play with the timing of everything. It's like, what would it be like if you established the rejections first before the dog? So you help establish that this is boring, boring. And then comes the dog. And now I'm playing with the dog. I'm excited. I'm finally, you know, into something excited. And the boss comes back in and says, yo, what are you doing? Get back to your job. You know, so I wonder how that would play. Now, anytime you have game experience, VR, you need a hook. You need to hook somebody into the experience right off the bat. The dog comes in first. It's a wonderful hook. You start with the boring stuff. There's no hook. Can you keep somebody playing for more than 30 seconds before they're like, oh, I'm done with this? You know, so there's a risk and reward there. But it would be fun to just take all of these events that you have and just keep changing the order of them and see how that plays out.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And weirdly close to what we did at the last minute. We did start with the dog originally, and then we added that intro scene to make you stamp at the beginning before the dog came in for the exact reason. But that's reassuring that, you know, we were kind of going down the right path, maybe a little late, but yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a lot about this world that is in really, really great shape. Like just sort of like storytelling through the world and through the environment. I think the challenge is just getting the guests to go through those pieces. And this is, you know, this is agency versus like linear control. This is like that storytelling challenge. And I think a lot of it was happening, but just those getting a few of those moments to land more solidly. So there's better clarity of like the journey I've gone through, so that you get to an ending and clarity of that moment that really does connect. But like I said, a lot of great work, especially just in making that world be a space that is representing this tension. And is a platform to tell the story in. So yeah, good work.
Also, thank you, Ruth, for being so generous with our world. I feel like there are some moments that you kind of like added in, so thank you for that.
It's a double-edged, because when we experience a world, we experience it for ourselves. But when we play a world in this kind of environment, you kind of want to talk about what you're seeing and what you're doing. So yeah, sometimes the naive guest can put more into it than is actually there, or take it in the wrong direction.
Cool. All right, well, let's move on. Next team, Team 30. And I think Team 30 is Oculus. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. I think I'll take this one. Make sure I got the right stuff. Final build. Looks good. All right. I'm plugged in here. Let me get things out of the way. And
it would be great if you can make sure you have like enough left and right space.
yeah, I'm moving a chair out of the way right now.
Thank you.
Get my wings sorted. Here we go. All right. This look right? Flap your wings up and down to fly. Am I doing this right? Do we need to get up there? There we go. There is. Whoa. Up there. Going. All right. Now step left and try to trigger the wind chime with your blow. Oh, there we go. Little particles. Come on. Wait. All right. We got it.
Oh my goodness. Why must I suffer like this? I'm so tired of being locked in this castle while my husband is off doing who knows what. I know he's working to support us, but at what cost? He's taxing the poor farmers too much. My dear Canary, tell me, how can I ever leave this place? I don't have any money. Never mind. How stupid am I to expect a bird to respond to me? Hey, my sweet. Fly up and let me see you closer.
Up here.
Oh, that's lovely. You made my day at least a little bit better. I would love to hear some music from your beautiful wind chimes. That would make me feel better.
One.
Poor farmers. Shut up, you stupid bird.
Oh.
Today's already bad enough. You make it even worse.
Hey, don't hurt my dear canary.
Shut your damn mouth, woman. I bought you this canary.
Yes, but with the money you got from the poor farmers, you taxed them so much that they can no longer pay for their food.
How dare you question me? Now leave me to my business and go tidy the bedchamber. I'm done talking to you.
Harsh.
Good. Now there's no one else. Well, except this silly bird, I guess. Let me think. What was the order again? Left, right, middle? Yeah, should be left, right, middle. Left, right, and middle.
I can remember that. high security.
No one will ever find out. The secret is the sound.
Right.
Hey, silly bird. Do not do any tricks with your little chimes. Otherwise, I'll roast you for my dinner.
Right.
Well, it's time for me to collect more taxes from the poorest in the East.
I feel like I know what I'm supposed to do. All right. Bye, guys. Hang out here. I practice. Okay.
Finally, he's gone. I wonder where he's been keeping his coins. He must be hiding it somewhere. Sometimes, I wish I could just leave this awful place. If I had his money, I could escape and leave him forever. I'd take you too, my sweet.
All right.
I think I heard some wind chimes when I was in the bedroom. My dear, did you make those sounds? Can you play them again for me?
No.
That doesn't sound right. Maybe start again?
The gesture for making the wind chime
Great.
go.
Keep going.
Little.
That doesn't
probably
sound
the
right.
80s.
Maybe start again? Great. Keep going.
Nope.
That doesn't sound right. Maybe start again?
I'm trying to figure out like what is.
Great.
How do I
Keep
actually
going.
target with the?
That doesn't
Wait.
sound right. Maybe start again?
There's my intuition for this is
Great.
not matching.
Keep going. Great. Keep going. Oh dear. Did you do that? Oh my goodness, so many bags of coins. With these I can leave my husband and live on my own. My canary, you are my savior. We can flee together.
We can just fly.
You belong to the sky now. Fly, my dear.
Let's do it.
Fly.
Woo! Okay. Whew. Let me go ahead and close that out. Let's talk about this. So I was a canary in a cage, experiencing the story. And the one thing I really like, I mean, the premise of the world being a canary in a cage is a great like explanation for why in VR like I'm restrained and like the for me like the cage was working, like the idea of staging the world around me and sort of like bringing these characters into space, like bringing them to view, sort of like telling the story. I kind of liked the perspective and sort of, you know, not being a fly on the wall but being a bird in a cage, sort of here watching things come in. It worked for me as a sort of vantage point for this whole thing. And like that just sort of like there's a perch, there's a cage, like it gave me a good excuse for why I'm just standing and watching at times and listening. And so I just like that as a as a fantasy you brought me into. The beginning, like you're very much a tutorialization, like flap your wings to fly, use this thing to blow the wind. One thing that was definitely frustrating for me was the blowing of the wind with the wings. And I at the end, I started to get a guess as to how it worked. And my guess was I could only blow wind forward. Didn't matter how my wings were pointed. And so I had to move my body physically left and right to activate things. And that's not at all matched my expectation. Like I expected, I have a lot of like freedom with my wings. And so I can turn to the side and point. And I had these, you gave me these little targets. And so I was like, oh, like I'm going to be able to like, sort of like use my things. Like I'm a bird, like can control the wind. And so it took me a lot to get to the place where I sort of understood it. And I think that was one place where the world was really good about like the space and the cage and like understanding where I am and what I'm doing. When it came time for me to like interact, like the wings gave me a great signal that I'm a bird. The flying actually worked really well, but the other way to interact with like activating the wind chimes was frustrating and sort of broke a little bit of my expectation of me as a bird. And I think one of the things that I wished it could have made me feel, which since I felt frustrated, was I wanted to feel like really important. And it's like, this is where interactive worlds and like the storytelling is kind of sort of like has a necessary reality. Like it was, I felt like I was letting the woman down. It's like, oh, I know the code. I can tell it to you. And she's like, oh, that's not it. Try again. And she was wonderfully patient. I really appreciated the fact that she was accommodating of me and my sort of inability to tell her the code. But it was sort of like thinking about the story the guest goes through. My story was like, you really carefully set me up. It's like bad guy storing taxes in this like, secret chamber off the side of the house, like really high security, three chime system. It's like, whatever you do, bird, don't pay attention and don't give up my secret. It's like, I gotcha. Like we're doing this. And I get to my big moment and like, I'm sitting there, I'm just like, I'm sorry, like, hold on a second. Like I can do this. I know what this is. And she's like, don't worry. We got all the time we need. But it wasn't this grand moment of like the canary saves the day. It was the moment of the canary is kind of flubbing his lines. But like one of the things that's I think great about what you guys pulled off is just like full story, full like give me the intro, you setting up the character, you sort of like doing a good job of like saying these are the relationship. She's worried. I really like you did a hard thing, which is you made me small. So it means your actors have to be really big on screen. And they walk right up there and they're like, I'm just going to get into frame and you're going to stare at my face while we act, which is a bold thing to do from an art perspective. And I think for the most part, the characters worked for me. They had to sort of like emote. There was times where they had to slide a little bit for animation, but especially when you got sort of like the body animation going and stuff like that, that was some really effective stuff. And like I said, this is an ambitious story to tell with those two characters. You've got to, the woman, like anytime they're not doing stuff, there's like the moment where like the guy leaves and like the woman has to come out. It's just sort of like dead air. Like this world is driven by those two main characters. So sort of bold choice to go there. And like I said, I think for the most part that worked. There's things I think would have heightened the drama. Like I sort of get told, and I sort of see the relationship that he's a bad guy. You guys are leaning hard on like, he seems to be some sort of like abusive noble. He's like collecting taxes and like all this stuff. And I think there's more to like heighten him being evil. But you're efficient enough in the storytelling for me to get it and to know what to do. So for the most part, I knew what I needed to do. I was a little bit struggling to execute. And I think that's where there was a little frustration, but good work in getting the story to flow, give me a role and make me be a key part of it. One little touch I appreciated, and the front of the cage was semi-transparent. And I'm guessing that's because you noticed the cage blocks a lot of the view. And it took me a while to actually even notice it, which is I think a good comment on like design of a space for a guest. Is there's a lot of little things you can do to sort of like warp the world around them in ways they won't notice, but will make their experience better. And I think that was a nice touch. I actually also liked the moment I got to do when he went to go do the chimes. He's farther away, which means he's smaller, and I could sort of like move my view and like frame him through the cage. And that little moment for me was like helped reinforce that the cage was a thing, and the cage wasn't an obstacle. It was sort of like a feature. And I sort of appreciated that aspect as well. So a lot of really good choices. Ruth?
What can I add? In the beginning, the tutorial, you had Dave fly up to the top. And once he was on the top, it looked like you played the chimes from there. Is that right, Dave?
Yes, that's what it felt like, yeah.
So in the experience, when it was time to play the chimes, I thought he was supposed to fly up because you established that in the tutorial. So you lost me there for a little bit. I'm like, well, why did we learn how to fly? And then I caught back up at the end when he had to fly away. But I thought that was a little bit of a misdirection there, that you were teaching us something and then we didn't necessarily use it in the same order.
And Ruth, I had to fly to the perch.
Fly to the perch. Okay.
Yeah. So I had a similar confusion, which was I was placed. There was a perch above me, and I was placed low, and I wasn't allowed to fly just yet. And so there was I had a similar question. Was like, I just learned these things, and I wanted to use them, but I couldn't until the world said I could. And so I was feeling a little bit of disconnect there.
Okay, that was a little weird. I am really happy that you simplified the story. And I think you told enough of the story. You made me hate the guy, and you made me feel sorry for the girl. You could have pulled the heartstrings, I think, a little bit more with her, but because she did come out really strong and say, "Hey, don't do that to my bird." So I think you could have pulled her down a couple more steps in the status game, and I think that would have been even better. But I'm so glad that you simplified everything. The guy was spending so much time trying to remember the combination. So I'm sitting here going left, right, middle, left, right, middle, left, right, middle, trying to remember it. And then when it came time to do it, I didn't need to remember it. So I had a mixed bag of feelings about that. But did it really matter what direction he flapped in? Or just he flapped and that played it, right?
No, so you need to step right in front of the chime to flap, because the wind is fixed to one direction. It does not go along with your camera, because otherwise you won't be able to see your wind. Okay, so two things. One, get your flapping working better. I thought he was a flounder. When you had said, Dave, about floundering in your acting, I that's exactly the same thing that I thought of. I was like, oh my gosh, the actor's on stage and he can't remember his lines. But also, it's an experience, not a game. So you gave me that really cool circle to tell me exactly which one to do. So you could have literally just said, let me look for any flap and I'll accept it. Because you gave me the target, you didn't need to tell me, to make me do it right. And that I thought could have simplified that for you and kept it moving forward. So don't be afraid to play those little tricks, since it's an experience, it's not a game. I thought you guys really tried to pull off a lot with those characters. And the character modeling looked pretty good. The character animation needed more work. And you had way too little time to do it. And I think that's why you tried to pull off more than I think you possibly could in the amount of time that you had.
I think I would have simplified the characters a little bit more and the environment and everything so that you wouldn't have needed as much detailed animation. But those characters are much closer to semi-photorealistic than they are to blobby and cartoony. And there was lots of times where I wanted her to show more surprise. I wanted her to really react. I wanted her to do real head turns instead of just rotating robotically. And that all takes time. So remember your scope. You want to do the best job you can in the amount of time that you have, and don't set yourself up for hard times, for stress. Try to alleviate stress as much as you can in your life, because the life will just heap it on you anyways. So I think the animation needed to go farther, but you didn't have the time to really do that. And I'm not sure that you needed the ending. I like the fact that she let the bird go, but could she have opened the cage and you flew right out the door instead of going to that flower field? Because I don't think the flower field had the same artistic style as the interior, and it felt weird. It didn't feel like they belonged together. So you could have left the bird on rails, just let the user flap and send the bird right out the door into the white, bright light and off into a new life. And I think you could have saved yourself a scene.
And actually, when the cage opened, that's exactly what I thought was going to happen. I was like, oh, like I'm just going to get to fly out. I think I like the point that like that's a good scope choice. It lets you just sort of like leverage what you have in a more direct way.
But thank you for really honing down that story. It worked a lot better.
Yeah, and I think this is a good example of like the difficulty in just telling a complicated story and the amount of stuff you need to do to tell a relatively simple story. And like those are the right choices. And I think it was very effective. Like I knew what the problem was. And like there was just a good moment of like, it's very heavy handed, right? I think you guys probably feel it. Like the guy goes over and it's like, everything he's saying is like kind of part of like getting the guest to know what's going on. And I think an iteration, like you could find ways to tone it down, but it gave me a sense of confidence in the world that I know what I get to do, because the clarity of the problem is like really there. Like I know she needs money. I know he's going and he's putting money here. He's clearly like saying, no one will be able to find it. And like, she's like, okay, like what about the money? And so just being in VR, this is one of the things that when you think about comfort, one piece of comfort is just the comfort of knowing what the world expects, what my role is, and how I'm going to be able to do that, which made the frustration of like not being able to like do the wind chimes sort of feel a little extra frustrating, because I had so much comfort and confidence in what I was supposed to do. So good job just like building out the story, making it nice and clear to me as the guest, and getting that interactivity and all those pieces to flow through that. So great job. All right. With that, let's move on to Team 31. Ooh. Team 31, I believe, is a networked world, right? Do I got that right? Gonna do some mirror smashing?
Yeah, it's a two-player network.
All right. Anything should do on like running this? Or just like go ahead and start up the worlds and go for it.
Start the world. Ideally, the person who starts it second share screen, because I think we decided that we wanted the second player to share a screen.
Okay, so Ruth, you have Team 31 downloaded? Do you have it, Ruth? You're muted, by the way.
Okay, got it.
All right. Is it running? Should I go ahead? I'm going to join second.
I'm in room test.
All right. Then I will share screen and get mine going.
I changed myself, but I got lost in my life. The world is now dark. There is no color in my life anymore. Help me, please. Alice. Hi. I wonder if you still remember me now. I don't know if you ever noticed the invisible mirror around you. I forgot the mask and the smoke have blurred your eyes. But I can see your desire. It grows and expands like a rose. Let me tell you who you are. Welcome to the world in the mirror.
Not alone.
To myself, begin the color and the night of my life.
This is trying to help me. Window in the middle. The window in the middle. Window in the middle. On which side? Let's go over here. I punched it again.
Hey, let's break the window.
What? This is not good.
Cut the crap.
Oh, okay. I shouldn't have broken it. I can find myself soon. I'm almost there.
Desk. Either does this one. Oh, desk. Third row. Second column. 1, 2, 3. Second column. Row. Third row, third column. Right. I got it.
Drink faster, Alice. Your bottle has the most laugh.
It's time I fix my test.
Uh-oh. I'm stuck on the cutscene. Mine is hung.
Oh. Did it crash?
Yeah, I got a crash.
It's okay. Dave, you can still finish it by yourself for this part.
What should I do?
Do you have my money, Alice?
This is all I have.
Nerd. See you next week.
Why? Why am I like this? Since then, I decided to change. But now, I know what is the most important to me. Being my true self is the most beautiful thing.
I guess that's the world. Awesome work. So Ruth, your view was, so my view was shared. So I sort of had could see the room and I could sort of control the blackboard. And could you describe your view, Ruth?
So in my view, I was also in the classroom, but I started out standing in front of a desk that had the instructions written on the desk. And it took me a second because we flipped roles that we had last week.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you saw that last week.
Yeah.
I don't remember. But that I thought was really cool, that I was able to look down and see that. I never saw the mirror that was there. I just read the instructions and I just thought, okay, I'll punch, and boof, there's the first mirror. So that was, I wasn't sure if that was just lucky or if that was by design. I'm assuming it's by design.
No, that was lucky, actually. Yeah, that one was completely unintentional. Like, it's specifically like on the right side table, like above the object, but you kind of hit that by accident.
Oh, I hit it by accident. Oops. I thought the writing worked a lot better this time. I was able to read it from wherever, and I was able to see it, and that worked really well. And it was fun. I enjoyed the being able to the communication back and forth being like that. I think that worked really well. I really liked that. Where mine hung was in the cutscene for the when she was in the bathroom. That's where mine hung for some reason. But luckily that was at the end of the interactions. And I kind of like the fact that there was only the 2 mirrors that we had to go find, really the 3, one that started it, and then the one in the window and the one in the one on the desk.
Yeah.
And that was fun. Trying to find that and then punching it. So, and that was all successful. I think it all worked really well.
Yeah, I mean, I think you guys made some great choices. Like this is sort of this you told kind of a complicated story, which is about a girl like sort of trying to find herself, which is an abstract idea, and you made that abstract idea a real metaphor, and then it's 2-player, and like getting us to work together. I felt, especially through the beginning, through the mirror smashing, I felt like we were working together, and like I like the little touch in the story, which is like I can't talk to her, but I can like communicate to her through the through writing. I was like, okay, like I'm not gonna talk. And I sort of like it. I think just the atmosphere and like the style you brought to this helped me buy into the mood and the role. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna listen to you guys. I'm gonna do what this world wants me to do. And then and sometimes my communication with you, Ruth, was a little mechanical. It's like, hey, this is where you should look. At the same time, like I think it fit. Like for me, I didn't feel like I was breaking the story or anything like that. Like my job was to tell you where to look for these mirrors. And I really like that. I like the fact that one of the mirrors was a window. And it made those 3 moments feel different. And like for me, the view of those mirrors had sort of like the context around this scenario as well. So like the beginning, I would admit I was a little confused about what I could control and what I couldn't control. And so I think you broke the mirror without us coordinating because I had no idea what I was doing. And so kind of lost a little bit of that context, but I did notice that there was makeup around and stuff like that for context for that first one. And then like the window, like the context was like, that was a moment where, the peer pressure to smash a window happened. And then the last one, the room for me had like, wine, like as beer bottles and alcohol sort of floating in the space. And I like the fact that made the space part of the storytelling. So it wasn't just like to be truthful, the idea of it being a classroom is a little weird. Like within the story itself is a little weird that we're like these 2 parts of a character sort of like operating in like a metaphysical space to like resolve identity. But like blackboard and desk and classroom, like I'm guessing like she's a student. And so like there's a lot of context around like this possibly being a school or anything, but you don't really connect the school to the story. But when you bring those pieces of those moments into the space, like especially the last one where there was like alcohol floating in the space, that's where the space made more sense to me, and made the story come to life. So yeah, I think it was like a really effective way to go through this. And I felt like we did it together.
I wanted to punch the beer bottles because you gave me the ability to break mirrors and to break windows. I really wanted to punch the beer bottles. And I was kind of taken out of it because I wasn't paying attention to what Dave was writing on the board right away because I was over there really trying to punch the beer bottles. So I'm kind of on both sides of the fence on that aspect. The one thing that confused me is I like the environment. I like that you upped the lighting level a little bit. It still had a really good feel to it, but it wasn't as dark as it was last time. It's a very old school room. It's a blackboard with chalk. God, it's been so long since I've used chalk. It's old style desks. I had to really feel like this was an old story. But when we went to the cutscenes, for some reason, I got the feeling that this was a story about maybe a girl who was like maybe a freshman in college. of dealing with the stresses of being on their own, because you saw no family aspect to it. So there was a little bit weird there. It's like I felt like you were trying to describe a high school situation, but with the school desks. But then I felt like the cutscenes was more of a college age, and that was a little weird for me. I don't know what your timeline was for, like, how old is she?
Yeah, that's not something we actually discussed.
Okay. Promoting drinking in high school. What are you guys up to here? Okay. Again, another reason why I thought it was a freshman in college, when students are thrusted upon that world where, you know, you can find a beer bottle in almost every corner of a dorm room. And the thought of that many beer bottles in the classroom, you guys were partying in the classroom? Shame on you. But yeah, I really liked the environment. I really liked the interactions. It worked well, and you told the story well.
And the cutscenes were, I think, an effective use. I mean, they were a distinctly different style, but for me, that helped sort of reinforce the fact that we were in kind of like a dream space, and the cutscenes represented what happened in real life. So I sort of appreciated the different styles, to like the fact that it was 2D versus 3D, like helped me. Like it made sense to me. And like you had the mirror smashing, so you had like, I think you guys know your metaphor really well, and I think you used it well for this whole thing. The ending was a little confusing. And so like you gave me this space and you gave me these two characters, and I can control one of them, and it felt mirror-like. And I don't really know what I did. I know I managed to trigger the ending. What I was doing was, like, my last thought was, what if I collide these two characters into each other? And that's sort of what I did. I guess so one, did the ending play out the way it was supposed to play out? And two, like, talk me through a little bit what the ending is supposed to sort of mean.
All right, so I'll start by saying the two characters, one was supposed to be Ruth, so like she was supposed to be controlling the other character.
Okay.
So you are supposed to collide. I'll ask Wizard what it means, because he was the one who came up with the idea.
Well,
yes.
From interpretation of that, like, now that I know that Ruth was supposed to control one of the characters, it sounds like we're supposed to sort of merge them together.
Yeah.
And that's a little bit what I was thinking. But I was, and now that I think about it, like, I'm trying to think of, like, if Ruth, if you're controlling one, if we would have like come to that. In some sense, I think that makes sense to me. And actually the ending scene like gets that, like they sort of grab each other, they sort of reach out and touch. So I think, like I said, the metaphor makes sense. I think story-wise that connects. It's just the interactivity of that moment didn't. I think part of it was I still have an identity to like the thing I'm controlling, like my viewpoint. And so for me, there were 3 characters in the room. There's the two girls, and then there's me. And I was trying to figure out what role I had in this. And I think that's where I would still like be a little confused. But I do like the idea of where you're going with that. And I think it would be interesting to play it out with Ruth and see like how we would have negotiated that. But I still feel like I would have still struggled with the fact that I still have an idea of that I am a presence here because I've got a first person control. And what does that mean?
Yeah, I was hoping that my WASD keys were still working, that I might be able to, look at your screen, your shared screen, and be able to move my character around to run into you. But just looking at your shared screen, I had the same feeling that we had to actually run into each other.
Yeah. But man, like I said, you guys told a really interesting story, a hard story. Like this is not a, we go and do this thing and this thing is now successful. You guys told a sort of inner, like, psychological like conflict. You brought it to life in an interesting way. And I think a lot of those choices help reinforce that, like interesting style choices, interesting control choices. And I think, I don't know, I felt that what we did drove the story. I felt that we were solving a problem, and it felt interesting. So, like, across the board, really good work.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So that was Team 31. I think we're going to move on to Team 32. And Team 32, you guys are Oculus, correct?
Yes.
Right. I think I'll go ahead and take this one. Anything I should know about running this?
You can try the final one folder with the game inside first. Like if that doesn't work, could you download the zip file and unzip that on your computer?
Okay, I've got final one folder. Looks like it's set up. So I will go ahead and get things ready. Let's do share a screen.
Hopscotch time.
This is looking a little bit not right.
Yeah, that doesn't look good. Could you,
This is not the world you authored. All right, give me a sec.
You have the zip file, or this is the zip file?
I'll go ahead and I'll back out. So I've got a zip file here.
Yeah, it is.
Unzipping. Almost there. All right, let's give it a quick run, see if we've got things going. All right, this looks a lot more like a world you guys made. All right, so I'll go ahead and share and run this.
It's hopscotch time.
Ooh, all right, and I heard the opening thing. It's hopscotch time. Got it. Flowers, rounds, and there's very clearly a hopscotch board in here. This hopscotch. Really walking through.
Nisa, come and sit down. It's time to get your food binding.
A little ominous. All right. So we're gonna go in. Whoa.
Nana, what's food binding?
Back up a little bit.
All the decent girls at your age need to bind feet to 4 inches long, like Nana. People prefer small feet. It will make you graceful and easy to get married. All right, there will be pain. You need to bear it, Nisa. Give me your next foot.
Okay, now stand up and walk around. You need to get used to it.
I can't. Keep walking. Please, Nana. No, Nana. Don't stop. Keep walking. Lisa! Lisa! Lisa, the matchmaker is here. Put on your best lotus shoes and come to the central hall. Coming! Will these shoes make the matchmaker happy? At least Nana will be pleased. Lisa! Coming! "3 inches long and no wider than a thumb." Describe an adult woman's lotus feet. Lotus feet are the result of foot binding, which is to apply tight wrappings to the feet of a woman at a young age, so the feet will be distorted and small. In ancient China, small feet are a symbol of beauty. While the foot binding brought honor to ancient Chinese women, it also brought them lifelong tortures and pain. Since the early 19th century, under the influence of the natural feet movement, foot binding has been gradually abandoned by the majority. Till today, the last generation of foot binding women in China is in their 70s.
All right. Whew. So, man, you guys, a really ambitious world. We sort of talked, the challenge of like feet and VR are not great friends, but a lot of really good moments in that, and like especially one like the sort of like the transition from outside to inside and getting that really up close and personal view. The view I have when I'm sitting. Especially the first one with the grandmother, I think, just really lovely and like made it really personal. Made it sort of like pulled me in. I had to adjust myself. Like I think there's some aspects of like getting myself framed right that helped. I think I started inside my body, but like just a lot of like interesting techniques for telling this story and getting me into it. And those moments, especially like basically the visuals are doing a lot of like great work for you guys. So like a visceral reaction to the way the foot looks and things like that. And sort of like getting that grandmother to be a character and sort of like establishing that this is what's happening. The moment of like taking my foot and sort of returning it bound, especially like sort of like is a moment that needs to land. And I think it lands really well. A great contrast to that, like you sort of like this world in some sense is told in these stages of these different moments of walking, 3 different walking moments, and they feel really different. And so being in VR, I could sort of like had a sense, you know, at the beginning, you know, using hopscotch as a way to express the idea that we are sort of a kid, and that we can move and we're sort of free in our movement, I think was a good choice. And like, just an example of telling the story without having to explain it to the guest. So just in that opening scene, I sort of know more who I am and what that means. And you give me context to compare to. I think that's really effective. So when we get later into the space of those other walking scenes, I sort of have a mental image of what to compare to. The walking is a place where like this is where the VR and the experience like run into each other. And I think the walking was a place where I wanted it to be different. So I use the stick, and in the beginning, like I see the legs move, and there's definitely like I get it. Like I feel the walking. My brain, like this is just like, you know, working with humans, like my brain knows it's not quite right. Like, you know, walking is a very natural, like it's just everyone has a sense of how it works, and recreating that in VR is definitely a challenge. But the fact that the steps are really noticeable, and I sort of really get a sense of the character, I think carries the story for me. So it's not something feel how the walking should feel. Like as I was walking with the hopscotch, I mean, one of my first reactions was, it's hopscotch, but I'm walking slowly over it. Like it's a great setup for story, but for the interactive moment, I wanted hopping. Like I wanted like the character to bounce, because of that expectation. And so I think there's a little bit of, you know, what the world wants me to understand and what the interaction is then telling. So every time I had to, it brought me out of the experience a little bit. Like I knew intellectually what was going on, but the visceral, like I'm in VR, I'm doing these things, was at odds with what it wanted me to do. So I think that's a place where just how to make VR support the story better is a big challenge. But again, walking in VR, like there aren't great answers to this. Like you guys are sort of pushing into possibly one of the hardest storytelling territories for VR, which is how to make walking a fundamental part of your storytelling, and not moving through the space, but the actual physical act of walking. So I'm just like want to like set the groundwork. Like your ambition here is really high, and I think a lot of it is landing. The scene where I'm walking on my bound feet for the first time, you're doing some nice little things with like the edge of the screen sort of like going like in a pane space. It's not exactly red. It seems like it's, you know, you've got a sort of a shader going on there that's really nice. The plants coming up from the I guess what were those things in the ground? My first reaction was they were flowers. But my second reaction was the story is telling me that this is painful. So I don't think they're good. I feel like they represent like the pain of walking. So there's like, maybe they're like cactuses, like a sharp plant. What was your design intent with those?
Yeah, so the flower thing are initially my idea. So I have the plants going out of the ground for 3 of the thing. The first thing is like the hopscotch thing.
Yeah.
We want to use the flower or like the plants to represent the girl's feeling. So it's like her imaginary like plants. So the first thing is like she's going through the hopscotch and she's really happy. So as we see a lot of happy flowers coming out of the ground, but these are like we use a different materials that represents it's like apart from the real world. And the third thing, we want to like make these lotus shape thorns. So like they kind of it's like thorns come out of the ground. So like it feels like, when the girl is like walking on the ground, she feels really painful in her feet, and she feels like, thorns like going through her feet, going through her heart, everything. And also the color also distincts, like it's a blue color. And for our game, we use blue to represent, everything that's like from the old society. And like the pink represents like the, energetic, the young girl feeling. And so like in the third scene, we see there's a flower at the entrance, like a single flower, and she like the flower is weathering. So so that it's like her kind of young activity is like her energy, her everything is like just going past away. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I got some of that. And so like the things that I connected for me were I'm walking through them and like the character is acting and she's in pain and I can sort of hear that and feel that. And so I knew sort of intellectually that those flowers weren't good. And I mean, hearing you talk about it, like you've got layers upon layers of meaning here. And I think for me, I sort of got their flowers. And I connected that there were flowers from the opening scene. I sort of got a sense that I was walking through sort of imaginary flowers that represented something. I think what I would have liked in the moment was a little more clarity of danger and pain. Mm-hmm. And I think the color was like fighting me. It was actually kind of like a lovely like lavender bluish shade. I was like, these are pretty flowers.
We should work more on the texture and the animation. So like we had the animation, but like there's some bugs and we didn't have the animation play through. So there's kind of some confusion about how like what we're representing. But yeah, like we really want to get the idea that the girl, like we can visualize the girl's feeling, and also we want something to be on the ground that the player can focus on the ground.
Yeah, and this is where your world is going for complicated things. And there's a lot of things you could do, like the animation of the feet. Like if you had like 6 months, I would like want the legs to like, I wanted like a technological system to like with inverse kinematics with the feet. And I want, if I walk over a flower, like the foot sort of pulls back in pain. Like I want like all these little subtle details in bringing this world to life that are clearly beyond like the scope of 2 weeks. But you're sort of like, I think you guys are there in setting it up to like have those opportunities. And I think one of the hard questions is within the time you have, how do you like find the right pieces to display? So I think that's a credit to like where you have the story and what you want to tell and knowing what you want to tell. And now it's sort of like the challenge of how do you make the feet feel visceral, like a visceral moment for me, the guest. Like I said, I think a lot of the visuals and the storytelling did it. Some of the things I felt, like the scenes where I'm sitting down, I'm not sitting down as a person. And so like that transition between walking and sitting, I really like, I think if you're doing this, it would be an experience where you carefully walk the guests through and you sit them down. I like bring out a stool and have them put their feet up and try to match them. I think the more you could just like get the virtual world and the real world in sync would do things for you. And like that's where like the walking, like the controls for the walking felt clunky to me because I can only move forward, but like the flowers implied like I should dodge them and do a path. And even though I know like I can't walk well, the controls sort of like didn't reflect the difficulty of walking in the way that the controls were difficult for me. So I had trouble like steering and it was slow. And the world is like each step is painful. And so I think how to iterate the actual controls to reflect that difficulty would be another thing that I would look to. But I think the scenes that you used and the way you told the story was really, really effective. Like I felt like the grandmother sort of like telling me to move, and like the scene where I'm walking and it's painful, like it's, the walking was not as smooth as I wanted to be, but like just the story moment of I have to move through it and I'm being told to do it. And I'm sort of like in that moment, I think was really effective. And like those pieces together. And even like the last scene where the walking is different, like I'm taking shorter, smaller steps, but you're not expressing the pain in the same way. But it's a sort of quieter scene. And I think even like the flower petals falling, I get sort of like the sadness of the moment. So I think a lot of strong choices on a really challenging story to tell through VR.
Yeah, I mean, if we have a chance to like remake the game, we probably want to choose a different platform. Like, some of us are thinking maybe making it like this is like a computer game. Other for me, like I'm thinking maybe using like the kinetic or like, you know, something that can have like the full body control so that we can make the player like or the guest more engaging to it. So yeah, that's something we were considering.
Yeah. Ruth, thoughts?
I liked the hopscotch better than the table that you had last week. I really did like that, but I was expecting him to jump because it's hopscotch.
Can I say something about the jumping? So like due to the VR difficulty, like because we're doing the full body control, the player or the guest cannot jump or like, you know, move up and down, because if like the character moves, then the player in the actual space is not moving and they will feel really dizzy. So we want to, you know, give them the experience but not like making them feel like they're gonna throw up. So that's the point that we didn't make the jumping. We really want to make it.
Then change it from hopscotch to something else.
Okay, got it.
You know, and I like the idea that you're trying to say that I'm a young child with the hopscotch. So even if it was chalk drawings, I think it would give you the same feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Than that what you're trying to go for. But don't use something that inherently makes the guest want to try to jump.
Got it.
I really liked the fact that there were these little steps going into the doorway. And I expected as you got to those steps that you would have raised the camera up just a little bit to represent them going up onto the steps. And I think that was a missed moment, because the reason why I like it is that as you get older, every little tiny thing that you have to step over or step onto becomes a hurdle. And again, that's a great opportunity to show how easy it was for her to navigate that little step then in that point in time. And then on the inside, I too was confused by the flowers. And I'm looking at the flowers and I'm seeing that they're popping up as he keeps going. So I started to think that maybe it was a keep going, you're almost there, keep going, you're almost there, hurrah, hurrah, you're almost there kind of stimulus to try to keep you going. And I don't think it really worked. I would have liked to have seen you use the steps that you used on the outside in that moment to give us those little tiny hurdles that even though it's a pretty small step, that's still going to be a challenge for her in that particular state. So I thought you established that in the beginning really well, but I would have rather have seen smaller steps like that or obstacles that she had to walk over as opposed to the flower. The flower I thought was too nice of an object. And if you want to make it with thorns, I'm not really used to that particular flower. It might have had thorns, but I think we were too far away to really tell. That's not a flower that I would recognize off the top of my head and go, oh, okay, I know what that is.
Mm-hmm.
So but other than that, I really like the story. It's a powerful story. It feels more like a public announcement or a historical documentation than it is an entertaining story. But I thought you really pulled some power out of it, and it's got a little bit of a shock value to say, no, this is what was really going on. So that I thought was really good.
Yeah. One more question. Sorry. So in terms of the flower thing, do you hope that you know if we wanna develop our story like our game a little bit more, do you want us to remove this flower, or do you want to just have nothing on the floor, or do you still want to have something on the floor, but it's like it's like a better representation?
Yeah, I personally would remove the flowers because I think as an element, flowers are meant to be beautiful and liked.
Mm-hmm.
I would put some other obstacle on the floor that they had to navigate over. And if you talk to your grandparents or something about what it's like to move, any little tiny thing, even a rug, can be a dangerous hazard for someone who's having trouble walking.
Mm-hmm.
So I would add something else there for that.
So it's more like a realistic thing, not like an imaginary thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think what that speaks to is what I kind of was, if I were, putting more effort into this, what does each step mean? And right now, each step is sort of generic because it's just part of the walk cycle.
Yeah.
But what that scene in the flower sort of started to say to me was, each step is meaningful. And so the idea of this step hurts, or like this step is hard, like that's the idea of like having to walk up a single step. All of a sudden, like that single movement becomes important, and you sort of use a single step to tell part of the story. And I think that's kind of the idea of there's a real obstacle, or like a way for me to understand how each step is either like easy and part of just play, or it's painful and part of a challenge. And so I think that for me, one of the iterations would just be how to make each step meaningful, instead of it just being the flow of movement is what's meaningful.
Yeah, and like using the flower, I guess it's another context here, because in Chinese term, this kind of feet is called lotus feet. And like in Chinese term, we say like someone walking with lotus feet is like walking like, like a flower. So that's why I want to use a flower like to implicate, like, go through the whole story. And like, yeah, maybe we definitely need to refine more on the third thing to like make them feel like what we want them to feel.
But I think, like I said, really ambitious storytelling and ambitious interactions for the medium, and so a lot of good choices and a lot of interesting and exciting alignment with that too. So
one other thing I would work on is your lighting. So in the beginning scene, it was very bright, but when Grandma was in the doorway, she was very dark. I would have liked to have seen her a little bit better to kind of reveal her and to establish who she is. And then on the inside as well, when you put the foot up onto Grandmother's lap, again, the foot was really in the dark. And I think you guys need to rethink your lighting and make sure that your 3-point lighting is in the right area for your camera angles.
Yeah, got it.
Can I ask one more thing before this end? Just a real quick one.
Sure.
How do you? I just wonder, like, how do you all feel when playing the game? Should like does the environment look inconsistent with the model itself?
I think in the scenes, I think I felt like when I first saw the grandmother, I was like, wow, like her level of detail and like the way she was made was like the more than I expected. And I don't know if like that's the environment. Really, the one thing I felt like in terms of everything was scale. I felt out of scale with the environment. I felt like I was like 3 feet tall and like had a weird body hanging off of me. And so there's like from a VR perspective, like my understanding of the environment is actually more of a physical feel as opposed to like aesthetics. And so I was actually like for a lot of that being like, this feels weird. I feel like I'm at a weird scale. So that's an aspect of the environment that is kind of like you have to work with as well.
Yeah, the girl is like 6 or 7 years old, according to our concept.
But no, I mean, I think a lot of like I said, if you had months more to work, I think there's pieces that you need to tune to like make them like click together better. But a lot of it was working, and so I think, like I said, ambitious story and a lot of it came together. So really good work, guys.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you, Ruth.
Thank you for the feedback.
All right, Team 33, last team of the morning.
Dave, we are Zoom plus VR.
Ooh, Zoom plus VR. So tell me how you can do this.
So basically, they need to be able to hear my voice in one section of the game. So there needs to be a bit of a mic check as well.
just that when someone's running Zoom, that they can, if you speak out, they can hear you.
Yeah.
Okay. I know in general, I've been able to hear people. Ruth, same thing?
I've been able to hear people, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, cool. Perfect.
This is Oculus, right?
Oculus, yeah.
Ruth, do you want to take it or you want me to take it?
Go ahead and take it.
Okay. All right. I will get things set up. Anything special about running this that I should be aware of?
No.
All right.
Not
Should
really.
I be standing?
You can move around with the joystick, by the way.
Okay, move around the joystick. And in my recollection is like you want me standing, right? Not seated?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Let me see if I got the right one. 1033, Spy Guy. Let's do that. Sweet. You get that's a controller, that's a mouse. All right. So I do that.
Good evening, Spy Guy. The president of Country B, our biggest rivalry, is planning something very dangerous and evil. Our special intel division has deciphered a secret message leading to the final classified file, which is in the president room of Country B. According to our satellite images, Country B is actively testing unknown weapons recently. It is believed that this piece of information will reveal the details of Country B's plan, and is critical for our country's safety. Your mission is to steal the information in the president room of Country B. If you are caught or killed, the secretary will disavow any knowledge of action. Good luck, Spy Guy.
Right. Ooh, there we go.
Okay, we're in. Remember, find out what they're up to and get out. There's a security guard. Duck behind the desk. Now!
Hiding place. He's not very good at his job. There we go. All right.
Okay, we're clear now. Ooh, that was close. Oh, by the way, did you see there's a safe under the desk?
Yeah.
Maybe we can find something to open it.
Like this.
Maybe some kind of password.
I feel like there's definitely a password. Yes. All right, got a big E on it. Like, right. Bottom. Room around me. Hi. W. Technical case. Right. I kind of wonder, like, if this guy's leadership skills, what he's doing, like maybe close. There's a book down here. I've got a B. I'm gonna do some super spy sleuthing here. I think that's what. Got C, a V, and a W. It's amazing. All right, what are you?
It's a cassette.
Maybe
we can play it using some device.
My first thought was just the giant bobbin for a sewing machine. I don't know. Is this a gramophone thing? They're like speaking over here. There we go.
Good morning, Mr. President. As you know, the missile launch you requested is expected to occur right on schedule. You also requested a special presidential abort button in case you had second thoughts about the launch or any other need for it. This voice memo is to confirm that maintenance finished installing it yesterday night. You'll find it behind the B seal at the front of your desk, which can be slid open to reveal the button. To be quite honest, I don't know what this message is talking about at all, but I was told to record this for you, so I trust that this is helpful for you, Mr. President. This is Vice Secretary of Secondary Internal Affairs, Karen Molly speaking. Have a wonderful day.
So, thank you.
We're trapped. Find a way out before I can be gone with the chopper.
Oh, you didn't disable it. You actually launched it. Then there's nothing you can do. Well, unless you figured out the puzzle, but other than that, nothing. Nothing, spy guy. Nothing. 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 And please ignore the painting at the back. Please ignore that. Don't look at it too much. Don't. No.
Nuclear weapon launch disabled.
No, this wasn't supposed to happen. What?
Mission accomplished, Spy Guy. We're gonna get you out of the ASAP.
We'll get you next time, spy guy.
Congratulations. You did it again. I don't remember how many times to save our country. Anyways, this just proves it again that you are the best of the best. You are the Spy Guy.
Naturally. All right. So, Raheem, was there? So you talked about the mic check thing. I'm guessing I missed it. Did I miss it?
Did you hear me?
I don't know.
But you figured it out. So I think without the mic checker, we're good. It was
I'm
supposed to be
so
like,
I guess what was it that you told me?
it was more like, you actually launched it instead of.
Oh yeah, I got that.
Yeah, so that you heard me.
Okay.
So
I guess to the world's credit, I think I felt like I got everything I need to get out of it, and I couldn't tell like where things are coming from. So.
Okay, perfect.
So yeah, like this world, very much the role of a spy, infiltrating this place and trying to save the day. We have this little bit of a twist, which we activate things by accident, or like, we start a missile launch and then we save the day. And so I think the beats of the story and those moments all worked out pretty well. Like I felt like I was a spy character. You put me into this space, which sort of said, this is a sort of some presidential like leader room, and I'm going through these things using the audio of like, hey, do this, to like help me understand what things are going on. I liked the moments of like putting the gramophone reel on the gramophone to get more information and sort of like have those instructions be a natural part of what I did. So I think also some good stuff of like leading me and making the next things happen because of actions I took. And so I think a lot of that was working really well. So it was kind of, you know, like a little heavy-handed. Like this is not a spy world that is about this isn't really a spy world that would really happen. Not that spy worlds really do happen, but like there's definitely, I think for me, a blending between a spy experience and like an escape room experience where there's really clearly puzzles being laid out. And so like there's a, you know, the mug having a letter on it, and like that safe, like it's not so much a safe as it is a really clear combination code to put things in. So I had a lot of confidence in those pieces. And so the fact that you're using puzzle structures helped me understand what I should do. But it also, I mean, it left me a little bit wondering the storytelling piece of that. Like, who has a safe like this? Who like puts a book in the drawer, which is like, hey, look in the bookshelf. So there's a little piece of this, which is like in my brain's like trying to understand the world building and how that's influencing the storytelling. The beginning was like, I mean, actually it was nice that you gave me sort of a blank room and a briefing because there wasn't much to do. Although the briefing folder like gave me some problems and it distracted me a little bit. And I think it's just a thing in VR, which is the collision of interactivity and attention. If you give me something to play with or something to do, I'm possibly going to poke at it. I'm going to like work with it. I'm going to interact and, you know, watch for attention. I had to like very consciously to like hold myself back and be like, no. Like, forget about the folder right now. They're telling me something and I should probably listen. And so I had sort of like a very like conscious reaction of my attention drifting because of the interactivity. And a similar time happened with the final puzzle, which is like I'm sort of like arranging those things. My sense was the villain was talking over the TV, and he was like, no, don't do that. And my other sense was his dialogue wasn't important. He was mostly there to like just reflect the mood and like what was going on. But my reaction was like, hopefully he's not telling me anything important because I'm not listening right now. I've got a puzzle I'm working on and I've got a plan. And if he's saying anything that I need to listen to, oh well, it's being lost. But those snippets I did here were much more reactive, like emotive. And so I had some confidence that it was in a good space. Beyond that, I think the way you lay this out, it did like I went to the front of the desk. I was doing some things that I was doing because I could. So the gramophone was like, there's a seal on the front of the desk. And by the time I got there, I had completely forgotten like what it was supposed to be. I just knew there was a seal to push. And I think that's a place where like, if, you know, applying more time would be, how do you get me to have a better sense of like what's going to happen because of what I did? And so my story for me is like, I opened a safe because there was clearly a combination to be solved. So I found the combination, put it in the safe. I opened the safe and found a gramophone reel. And the gramophone reel told me to go to the seal on the front of the desk. And when I got to the seal on the front of the desk, the room changed and like it told me I had launched the missiles. And then I flipped the 4 squares of the puzzle to match the picture across the room. And once I did that, I solved the things. So there's a little bit of, for me, like I was very much sort of in a puzzle solving space, and I wasn't connecting them as much to the goal of the story. But the fact that the world sort of helped me reinforce that. Like the gramophone was like, hey, you asked for this, we installed this thing, did like catch for me. Like I heard it and I sort of understood it. So I had enough of the world telling me the consequences of my action and like what was happening next to sort of piece it together. I think it was just like getting me to connect my actions to the story and the problems beyond the immediate puzzles is where I'd sort of wanted to be pushed a little bit more. Ruth?
I'm curious about your guys' motivation behind making the villain's voice live. Why'd you do that?
make it so like he can like react to like how well you're solving the puzzle, and like so it feels more like reactive instead of just like a monologue in the corner.
Okay. But the other voice was not live, correct?
Yeah. Yeah, the other the earpiece guy. Yeah.
If it was me, I would have switched the two. Because I agree with Dave. Once the puzzle and the timer was going, I wasn't paying attention to the villain's voice. I think the villain's voice had a reason and a purpose, and it added to the atmosphere. But I was not listening to it. Where the spy guy, or the guy in the ear, I would have made him look for the same exact reason that you could then help the guest continue to figure the puzzle out. If they were struggling, you could give them extra clues. If they were not looking in the right area, you could kind of poke them into the right area. Did you guys expect the spy to struggle to open or to find the right combination of 3 letters, or did you expect the spy to know immediately what order to use those 3 letters in?
And we figured there were like 6 combinations, so like it wouldn't take too long to like try all the different combinations.
Okay. Did you ever have a chance to test outside of the class?
No.
No, I was just curious.
Programmers.
It's tough. Okay, so when Dave found the letters, the first thing I would have tried was BWV, because that was the order in which he found them. But he got it right the first time because you guys used an inside joke with it being BVW. And if you used a naive guest, I was just curious to see how long it took them to figure out the right order. The other thing I would have done to help it would have been not to allow all 26 letters to be on each of the 3 spindles, which is a little bit difficult when you have 2 letters of the combination that is in the same section of the alphabet. But it would have allowed them to kind of pop through the combinations a little bit faster and give them a little bit of a hint. Well, it's got to be one of these letters on each of these spindles. So I was curious of whether you wanted that to be a one shot. They immediately, the spy guy really smart and he gets it on the first try, or whether you wanted them to struggle. Okay. I like the fact that you took out a lot of the extra knobs and buttons that weren't needed. Because like David said, the moment you're in VR and you're given that kind of stuff, you want to play with it. And just keep that in mind, that people want to pick up things. They want to push things. So if you give it to them, you want to give it to them for a reason. So I was really glad to see that. I would have increased the light level a little bit. I thought the top of the desk was really, really dark. But other than that, I mean, it had a good feel of I do this, and then I do this. And it wasn't so difficult that you're going to make the guests feel like they're a terrible spy.
Yeah, going through it, I mean, actually, the BVW thing, I almost put in BWV because it was the order I found them in. I think if you naive guest tested this, you would find that would be the first thing people would put in. One of my first things I did was I saw the safe and I started playing with the buttons. And what I was doing was like, how many letters does this have? Because there's a B on the table, and my first thought is this is going to just have A, B, and C as the letters in it. And it's like, nope, it's got all of them. And I was like, my reaction internally was like, that's ambitious. Like this is a combination with all the letters of the English alphabet. And like that's sort of I mean, sometimes you use them because you went for BVW, but it did have, I was sort of like poking at the complexity in my head of like, what is this asking me to do? And I was sort of looking for that. And I think, yeah, the difficulty of this space was I felt I wasn't really ever challenged too much, which I think is good for making me be able to go through it in a single playthrough. And this is the balance of a BVW world. Like you're telling a story and experience for a guest who's possibly only doing this once and in about like, 3 to 5 minutes. And so I think your tuning is about right. The ducking moment was nice. And I think if I were looking for more stuff, I would almost want to see that show up in another way. Because for me, it was the most immersive moment almost of like, using my body to like check on him and see what's going on. But once it was over with, it was done. And so from that, the world sort of like gave me that moment. And then I was like free to do whatever I wanted, which was nice just for like being able to do stuff. And honestly, if the world had been like, get back to the desk, he's coming back, I would have, I think, been challenged to work with that. But it is, I think, just thinking about different interactions and how they feel and how the guest feels, that was a nice one for like tying the world together and making it feel more alive. But it contrasts with the rest of it, which was I was very alone, and it had a very escape room feel, which is this room is in service of my needs. It's in service of me solving these puzzles. And so having a way to bring it a little bit more to life would have been nice. But overall, like I think the flow worked really well. I was able to understand what I need to understand. And like the little, like the moment where like the red lights came on, I think my reaction in the world was like, this is bad. I think you just a good job of like world storytelling that things changed and I need to react in a different way. I got that I had done it, that there was a problem to be solved. And like, the puzzle of like flipping the pieces on the board wasn't all that difficult, but I did feel like I was correcting the thing I'd done and that I had saved the day by the end. So I think good work in getting all those things to land and making it all really clear.
Yeah, the only thing visually that felt a little bit off was the focus change on the bodyguard or the guard, and how he was in focus when he came into the room, but then when he came up towards the desk, he was out of focus. And that felt, if you were going to use focus, that felt backwards. That was the only thing I thought visually was like, I don't get what they're trying to do with this.
Yeah, I could have spent some time fixing that. Right now it's changing based on what you're looking at. Like it kind of shoot a raycast to the objects you're looking at and focus on that object only, that plane. But I can like fine tune to make it more pleasing to look at. If I have more time.
I found the focus shifting to be distracting. But it didn't interfere so much that I lost parts of the world. But this is always a challenge in building stuff, is like how refined does it need to be to sort of like do what it needs to do. And I think there were moments where I did find it distracting. But like I said, overall, like really successful world. It got me to go through puzzles and like experience the story in an effective way. And there were some nice moments. So great work.
Thank you.
All right, with that, those are our 6 for the morning. Congratulations, everyone, for story. Just like, I think, just seeing the variety and seeing like the different stories everyone's telling, the different techniques. Like we've got multiplayer, we've got 4 2-player, we've got stories that are going more interactive, more abstract, metaphysical, societal, just an impressive amount of variety. And I think everyone has done a really great job of like hitting on how to make the interactivity be part of the story, how to make it clear that, there's what's happening, how moving through it, how doing things pushes the story forward, and how things get resolved. So I'm just really impressed with how you guys have tackled story and like iterated it, and especially like thinking through like last week and the discussions we've had sort of in office hours, and like the questions you're asking about story and how you resolve them and the answers you come to are really, really impressive. So everyone should feel really proud of the work you guys have done. Story is hard. My guess is you're getting some of that as some of the lessons learned, that story is challenge, but really, really successful work. So great job. We'll break until the afternoon. afternoon session. After the afternoon session, we're going to talk about the next assignment. It's live on Canvas if you want to look at it. But so after we watch the next 3 rounds in the afternoon, we're going to go over the assignment. And then Thursday, we're going to go over the assignment in more detail and talk about strategy and things like that as well. But no, after the 3 rounds in the afternoon, if you want to be around for that, that's when we'll go over the assignment more formally. With that, good work. And we're going to break. And I'll see everyone back who's joining us for the afternoon session at 1 o'clock Pittsburgh time. So good work.